OzLoL Podcast, episode 96. My name is Carrot Colossus. I'm host of the show, and this week we're going to be talking about patch 5.15, because of course, patch notes are never ending, and also some gameplay changes to some of the tanky champions, as well as the ongoing controversy regarding the HUD. That's what I was looking for. Heads-up display. And to help me with that, I'm joined by two fine fellows. One of the who's look like he's making himself dizzy, swirling his drink, and that's Victor Pradley.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
And also joined by Stephen Gastone.
Sup?
Everybody's got a drink but me. I finished my cup of tea. I feel a little bit out of it.
Don't worry, it's iced tea.
Is it? Well, my tea's empty. Sad face.
Mine's water in an Avengers cup.
It's funny, like, I'm putting a jumper on because it's like, you know, the middle of winter and you're like drinking water because you're like hot and stuffy. Darwin life for you.
That's it.
Are you guys getting like full on weather? Because I know there was like some crazy typhoon somewhere.
No. Darwin's weather is kind of like, it's ridiculously nice for like a month of the year.
Yep.
And then it goes, oh, well, you've had your fun. Now it's time to be completely sucky until it starts raining continuously.
Yep.
That's the section we hit yesterday.
Okay.
The weather
I was talking to Steve once. I'm like, it's fucking winter now. What are you doing? And he's like, huh? What's that? We only have wet and dry up here.
That's not even a joke. That's the actual seasons in tropical areas.
Yep, it's a bit unfortunate. That's why you should move somewhere else, which is not so awful. At least weather-wise. I don't know how people can live like that, but that's just me. Personally, I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind living in like -5 weather all year round, but yeah. Anyway, enough of this weather discussion.
Let's move to Antarctica.
Yeah. Of course, we're part of the Trinity Force Network, so you should check out our sister shows, the Trinity Force Proper, which I was on last Thursday. You can check out the T-Force LCS Rundown, as well as the Four Wards podcast, which is a podcast for beginners and people sort of wanting to go with the basics. So check them out, trinityforcepodcast.com.
Next time you're on T-Force, just add me to the call, and then I'll show Adam who's getting the big boot up the arse. The jerk.
Victor's got he's a bit salty over.
He and that man are gonna fight. Don't you worry.
The guy used to do MMA, so I'm guessing that you probably don't want to pick a fight with him.
Fucking amateur MMA, like really, really amateur MMA.
Like,
yeah,
about your professional MMA days.
Yeah, because how much martial arts have you done in your life?
Sir, I am a trained gymnast. I will backflip that motherfucker to death.
Were you twirl like a ribbon or something at him?
Oh, we never fucking twirled ribbons. We did backflips and all kinds of shit. And I will kick him.
Swing off some rings at him. He'll be in trouble if he gets up on the single beam. I'm sure you can kick his butt then.
I never actually did the rings, but I could pull myself up, which was actually really hard.
Yeah.
And he drinks alcohol. I do not drink alcohol. I drink iced tea, which means I've got that advantage over him of not being like broken in all of the body because I just plague it with alcohol all the time.
Sure. Well, if your liver and his liver go for it, I'm sure yours will win then. Anyway, let's get into.
Also, I got the hidden bar blade just jamming right in the. You'll never see it coming.
Now, of course, this weekend is the OPL final at Luna Park. The broadcast starts at 5:30 AEST, and the actual game starts at 6. So make sure you watch it. Of course, it'll be on their Twitch, and it's looking like it's gonna be pretty good. So make sure you check that out. Unfortunately, I'm double booked from 9 o'clock. So hopefully the game will be nice and sweet. Quick Chiefs 3-0 stomp, and then I can watch all of it.
You need to get yourself a larger phone. Just have it running.
Yeah, I'll be watching Hamlet, but I'll be sitting there with my smuggled phone watching League of Legends at the same time. Yeah. Anyway, let's there's not really a whole lot to say about that apart from what we've just said. So let's move into the heads-up display, because it's been pretty controversial. We haven't actually talked about it yet, and our impressions and all of that, and of course, there's some changes for 5.15. What do you guys reckon of the new look of the HUD?
This has actually brought me back when I used to play level 60 World of Warcraft, like when level 60 was the heyday. Now, I raided, but that wasn't really where my passion for that game lied. It was mainly hanging out with friends and everything like that, but I would spend hours working on my HUD, trying to get the right combination of button sizes, of minimap, of health and mana bubbles and everything like that. I loved the ability to be able to manipulate the HUD like that. And when this new HUD came out, I went, my God, that looks like my World of Warcraft HUD, but with way fewer buttons. So, just from an aesthetic point of view, I very much approve, and it gives you a lot more visual range than the previous one did. At least I think so. But I've had a lot of people complaining about it. A lot of people are going, oh, I don't even know what my KDA is anymore. But I think once people get used to it, that'll stop being a problem. So, how about you, Victor? What's your opinion?
Oh, fucking total overreaction. From the community, a total overreaction. Just, oh my God, it's the worst thing ever. Wow. And like, come on, like, it's a new HUD. Of course it's going to look weird. It's like every time YouTube updated their layout, or when Xbox updated the dashboard, everyone was like, oh, it's awful. Oh my God, what the hell? You just got to get used to something different. Even if it is better, it's still going to be a big change for everyone. And I do like where Steve was coming across with his World of Warcraft HUD, because I play the superior MMO Star Wars: The Old Republic. And,
this was like 15 years ago. Like, the game's old.
And level 60, that's vanilla. On Star Wars, you got when you subscribe, you get the full quick bars and everything. And you can move everything around, make it bigger and smaller, or you can put it in there, you can put it up there, you can move your map up there, your achievements here, and
See, now, if you told me that, I probably would have played it, because I love doing that.
So what you really need, Steve, is you need MMO HUD Simulator 2015, Steve.
Yeah. No, because I need to be able to use it for something that I'll enjoy.
All it is just moving the HUD around. Yeah. I think we get a winning Kickstarter project right there just for you, Steve. We'll take some of that fat podcasting
I didn't play
Patreon loot and turn it to the HUD simulator.
But the ability to manipulate the HUD made me more inclined to play it. That's okay. Let me just clarify that.
Steve, come play SWTOR with me. Let's play some SWTOR.
No. Come to the dark side is how that
I got a friend named Bo, and we do the All Random All podcast, and we literally spend most of that podcast just talking about SWTOR. There has not been a week where we have not talked about SWTOR yet.
I believe you.
I just play that game so much. But no, it is good being able to move everything where you want it and set all your hotkeys up. Okay, so this side of the hotbar is all my shift keys, and this side of the hotbar is just neutral numbers. So I push the neutral numbers, and then I press shift, and I get all the other ones, and I like doing all that. If I was designing the League of Legends HUD, I'd have it more customizable as possible, because that's the best way you can do it. Like,
and I'm pretty sure I've seen, like, in all the sort of people jumping up and down on Reddit, you know, they posted screenshots of how you can do that with Smite, how you can fully customize it.
Another reason why we should all move to Smite with Ranconians. But one thing I would have, like, it's not the direction I would have taken the HUD. Well, like, I would have done it full customizable, but also the shop as well. The shop is, for the most part, the same, but it's still just a box that pops up in the middle of your screen. I think if I did it, I'd have everything come in all the empty space on the side, so you can still see the middle of your screen.
So
many
if you
players
open the shop when you're recalling?
While you're recalling,
yeah, no. See, the solution to that is stop being a retard and don't look at the shop until you've actually fully recalled.
We talk about this all the time. We can't control our fucking teammates.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. Like, I've seen that happen. I'm like, I was dead, and I was looking at somebody who was clearly looking at the shop, and you just like, don't do it. Yeah. But anyway,
I just want to defend the people that you're again alienating in this.
I'm not the one alienating. They're just idiots.
Just idiots that open their shop while they're legal.
It's asking for trouble.
The biggest problem there isn't so much that they're opening their shop when they're recalling. It's that they don't know what they're going to buy, and they don't know what their gold is, like, as they're recalling. If you could get into the habit, this is just a League of Legends tip. If you look at how much money you've got, and you look at the items, and you know the price, like, you got to learn the prices of each upgrade and each power spike available to you, and then when you're recalling, you open the shop once to double check that the option isn't grayed out, you know, but then you can just quickly type in the name of the item, right click, and leave the shop. That way you've only got that window open for about half a second, because most people use it to browse. They kind of go, well, I'm recalling now, so I've got about 4 seconds. Let me just open the shop up. All right. Oh, well, I could go for a Lich Bane, or I could go for a, you know, they go for that. Like, no, have an idea of what you're going to get and how much it costs to get that upgrade before you...
What I normally do is, before I go into lane, say I've recalled, and I've gotten back, and I've got the item I want, I'm like, okay, I'm going to build the Blade of the Ruined King first. Okay, I got my Cutlass, and I got a recurve bow, because I had fucking stacks of gold, apparently. And then I'm like, all right, I'm going to go back. The next, yeah, how about that? I'm the greatest Twitch player ever. And then what I'll do is I'll make sure that Blade of the Ruined King is the item that the shop is on when I leave, so that when I come back, open the shop, buy, and then look for my next item. I'm playing Twitch in this scenario. All right, I want to build a Youmuu's Ghost Blade next. So I'll look up Youmuu's, select it, have it open, close the store, go to lane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
like
I think
when I'm playing,
bam,
like, I'll hit recall, and if I know I've got enough for a death cap, I'll just type in death, and then like death cap, death via grasp used to show up there, like, or anything that has the word death in it would show up, and bam, there's the easy option right there. That's the quick way for me to do it.
And
other people prefer to go, I know exactly where it is in the shop window, scroll down, click. You know, like, whatever you find is easiest for you, use that.
I mean, you can always set up the item sets as well. I mean, that's probably the most sensible option, because it's just right there. All the icons are right there. So, I mean, I think it would be even better if you could queue items like you do with Dota, so you can buy the items when you're in lane, and then as soon as you get to the shop, it just chucks them straight into your inventory. But anyway, I mean, that's an aside. I mean, I think ultimately, if you're going to look at your shop while you're recalling, just look at the minimap. It's not that hard. But getting back to the HUD itself, I think, I mean, I actually like it a lot, because
I like it.
I actually like this. It is less intrusive, and I like that. You know, you're finding, particularly when you feel like me and you're not like perfect at keeping yourself completely centered on the screen. I want as much room, particularly at the top of the screen, as I can, because, you know, like I'm not always on center, and trying to actually practice pressing spacebar during fights so I can keep track of where I am. So for me, I like the fact that it's got practically nothing above the minimap level. And also, I mean, I really like the fact that when you upgrade an ability, like, especially when you play ARAM or something, you're playing with a champion you're not familiar with, knowing what happens when you level up your abilities is, like, awesome, and what I've wanted since I've really started playing this game at all. So that's good stuff. Yeah, I agree that it is a bit of an overreaction. But, I mean, to people's credit, like, I think it was Horse Doctor in the T-Force Slack channel saying how there's lots of different bugs and all sorts of different stuff that was mentioned in the PBE testing, and Riot didn't implement it, and that's what making people mad. So if you look at some of the patch changes, there's things to do with ability bar colors, so it looks the same when you're out of mana as when it's on cooldown, things like that. It's when you're a pro player or a high level player, those things really matter, and Riot didn't listen during the PBE cycle.
Well,
so,
the HUD itself was only available to normal queues. Like, if you went into a ranked game, you'd still have the old one. So, like, it's not like it's at the cost of your LP. You must now suffer through this HUD. It's like, okay, like, it's kind of like the second phase of the beta test. Like, send it to normal queues, test it a bit more there, tune it up, send it to ranked.
Yep.
I can see how the bugs would be frustrating, though. It would frustrate me, but
I think it's more just that they gave feedback and Riot didn't listen. And this, I think part of the issue was, what's the point of having a PB if you're not going to take feedback on what you've actually put up there?
Well, the patch, the what gets released in patches are always like scheduled technically, like which is kind of why Azir came out really really buggy. So like everything's scheduled and planned, and then the package is put together, and then they write the patch notes, and then they send it out, and that could be the period of 2 to 3 weeks. I don't know. So what's coming in the next patch, 5.16, might already be planned and packaged and almost ready to go.
Yeah. Then you really have to ask the question of what's the point of having a PBE at all if that's going to be the case. Yeah.
You still need to test. Like, if you can
Well,
plan, this is what we're going to be putting into the next patch. We're going to make sure there's no colossal fuck-ups. Like, going to make sure that if Shen uses his ult, then 2 Shens don't spawn on the map. You know, or whatever random bugs. That's a bit overpowered. But, you know, like, you've got to give them a fair test run. Yeah. And I'm sure if Riot have ignored, if that's what they've done, this feedback, then there's got to be a reason for it. Like, that the bugs involved in that were not so easy as to just flick the switch and it goes over, or there's something else that they're planning for the future that they're not allowed to discuss. You know, so that's because Riot are fantastic at listening to consumer feedback. You know, like they'll go, "Oh, the public want this, let's give it to them." You know, they may not give it straight away, but they're very, very like they're one of the best companies in the world at doing that. At listening to what their target audience wants.
Yep.
Let's talk about Juggernaut.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So, we overnight, Riot have put up a bunch of changes on the PBE regarding some of the more sort of tanky fighter champions. So Darius, Garen, Mordekaiser, and Skarner have all got some, well, actually quite substantial changes in the end. I think the net effect is quite substantial. So, yeah, well, let's go over them. So essentially, they're trying to give them, like in the case of Darius and Garen, they're trying to give them more distinctive identities rather than being sort of two very similar champions. Darius is more, well, I mean, basically he's going to go ham more often if he can get an execute. It's probably the biggest changes essentially around his ultimate. If he executes somebody or gets max stacks of his hemorrhage, his passive, then he actually gets bonus attack speed. Bonus attack damage. He enters a blood rage, so he gets between 400 and 200 bonus AD, which is pretty friggin' nuts. The bleed's actually been changed to physical damage, which is interesting because previously it was magic, which actually made him. That was actually quite powerful because you could get like Sork shoes, and actually really kick ass.
Well, it made his bully power even stronger because if he got ahead, you'd be like, all right, I need to build armor. And he was still doing heaps of magic damage as a dot.
If he hits with his Q, it actually gives him heals him for 10% of his missing health for each enemy champion hit by the blade, maximum 30%. So he's going to have a heck of a lot more sustain in lane. Did
you miss the component of Blood Rage where he instantly applies 5 stacks after he goes into it?
Oh yes, that's true. Yeah. So if he's in that Blood Rage, so he's got the max stacks of hemorrhage, or he's executed somebody with his ult, he also then applies maximum stacks of hemorrhage to anybody else he hits in future. So yeah, it's pretty gnarly.
That's really good.
Yeah. So and it says in the article describing this that some of these things are a net buff. So Darius has definitely been buffed. Some of the other champions, it's hard to say if they're buffed or nerfed quite yet. But we'll get to them. So I mean, I think overall these changes to hemorrhage are pretty rad. To Darius are pretty rad.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Any particular thoughts about Darius, or should we just move on to some of the more different?
Well, I just want to touch on Juggernaut in general, like the idea of these champions. Like, I think Darius and Garen specifically, because I really do think that they're going to be the really tanky ones that are also doing a ton of damage at the same time. And when Cinderhulk was made first available, and for quite some time after that, Sejuani was an example of that. She could just build an uber tank, do a ton of damage through her abilities and the Cinderhulk itself, and she became instantly viable from previously a joke in the professional meta. So if that's the way these changes are going to go, we could see Darius's and Garen's pop up instantly, depending on how effective this sort of stuff is.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it seems like the niche they're kind of creating, because I guess previously anybody who wasn't a marksman or a mage or a support was in that kind of or a tank was basically fighter, and it seems that they're going for a sort of a subcategory of the fighter, which is kind of the more tanky, tanky fighters, which sort of go for the carries as opposed to, I guess.
Yeah, they defined it earlier. What is it? Like immobile, unkillable things. Hang on.
Yeah, so when you think of brute force, these champions should come to mind: powerful, durable, immobile, and melee.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Then the opposing ones in the fighter class would be Riven and Irelia.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, I guess Irelia is actually gets pretty tanky, but certainly Riven, theoretically, she's squishy, but she just does so much damage that's what keeps her. I guess Riven's more like a Tryndamere or an Aatrox or a Fiora, where they're sort of melee carries.
If they get ahead, they can be hyper carries.
Yeah.
They're pretty nasty.
So Garen's changes.
Garen?
Yeah, so Garen's changes. I mean, Darius is pretty straightforward. It's a buff. Garen's changes would be different. So, let me just bring him up. So
the cursed villains must pay.
Yeah, so basically, his niche is they're making him this kind of defender of the weak. So probably the biggest single change is that now his ultimate creates a villain. That is the last person to get a kill on the enemy team becomes the villain, and you do all this extra damage. So judgment ticks, so that's his spin to win, and basic attacks on the villain deal an additional 1% of its max health damage as true damage.
Of their max health.
Max health
the person
as
you're
true
attacking.
damage. So max health, like percentage health, true damage, which is just psycho, straight up. And now his ultimate itself deals true damage instead of magic damage.
That's ridiculous.
Which, I mean, if you think about it, it's not that much different from Noxian Guillotine, which also deals true damage. So it's not like there are a few true damage executes in the game.
Yeah, there's a significant difference there.
Yeah.
Whereas Darius was built to kind of damage tank hybrid, Garen was almost exclusively built. He might build a Hex Drinker, but he's pure tank.
Yeah.
So Darius with true damage, basically is negating someone else's armor to deal with his attack damage items. But if Garen continues down his I just build tanky but can still do damage, that's a sizable larger buff to Garen on the whole.
Well, especially considering that every tick of his judgment, and now that his judgment actually speeds up as it goes up in ranks. You know, there's every tick of that you're doing percentage health, true damage. You think about doing that to tanks. I mean, that's what makes Vayne so friggin' insane to play. Like, when she gets into the late game, if she deals all this percentage true, max health percentage true damage. So it's... that's actually going to be... He's going to end up doing lots and lots of damage. And it's... Yeah. Untied from items. Like, untethered from items. Like, it's completely... It's not even... Like, I mean, you think about, like, an Elise where she was doing percentage damage, but it was magic damage. So at least you could build MR against it. This is just straight up damage. Like, there's nothing you can do to mitigate that damage.
And the only thing you can build is HP, and then it's dealing more damage.
It's everything. Damage. Yeah, there's really nothing that actually helps you with against that.
I just want to put a situation... to kind of throw up a hypothetical. If Garen is 1v1ing someone in the top, and he gets first blood, but the enemy jungler comes and kills him, or the enemy top laner had an ignite on him and they both die, having your team have the most recent kill doesn't get rid of that buff. If anyone on the team has ever killed someone, that stays there. And as far as I can see, the villain thing that goes on there doesn't go away even after you've killed them. Like, have I missed something there where it says that?
No, I'm pretty sure. No, it says so going off what's on the PB right now, the enemy champion with the most recent kills is the villain. So
yeah. So if you trade 1-for-1 in the top lane, and then no one else in the enemy team kills anyone, you could dumpster that guy all day.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, no, I see what you
Yeah,
mean. Yeah,
I figure at some point someone else is going to die around the map, and then the villain's going to be in bot lane for the rest of the game, and you can't get
Yeah,
down there with
yeah.
teleport. My only concern about the villain, my main concern about the villain thing is you're probably going to run into the back line like, the villain is Jinx, and you're spinning on top of her, and you're doing all this damage, and then you're about a quarter through a health bar, and then someone on that team gets a kill, and Jinx is no longer the villain.
yeah.
Yeah,
And then-
that'd be a bit annoying.
And then Jinx gets you in some traps, kites you around, and you don't have the damage to finish her because you built full tank.
It's a possibility, but Garen's damage is nothing to sneeze at when he's talking about someone without any defensive stats like a Jinx would have.
Yeah, and
But
it's not like
the kiting is a vulnerability.
Yeah.
Because he has lost his tenacity.
Yeah, which is a huge deal. And to be fair, if he had his old W, so his W is now changed to back what it was previously, which is essentially you build
Previously, as in ages and ages.
as
and
it, yeah,
ages
like
ago.
so like it got changed to
believe
you
it.
just got passive MR and like bonus MR and armor increases. So you basically got to it just sort of passively increase your stats. Now it is. You got to kill units to increase your armor and magic resist up to a maximum of, I think it's up to 30 when you've ranked out the skill, like maxed out the skill.
It is 30.
And there's no tenacity. So if he had the old W, he would be.
As
Like-
in the most recent previous one?
Yes, and when it
one that
was
they've
when
just
it
got
was
rid of?
when
Yeah,
it, when it had
okay.
the tenacity, when it just gave you just straight up bonus armor and MR, like that would be way overpowered because he's now a little less tanky, but he deals more damage. Yeah, if he's had the tenacity, like you just, well, it'd be just unstoppable.
Itemization
Merc
and
treads,
champion matchups have
iron.
changed a lot since then as well. So it's not just the abilities we need to look at there. Like there is a lot of potential for these characters to just come out of nowhere and just dominate people. Sorry, what were you saying, Victor? I think I cut you off. Nope, it's gone.
I'm just.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I was going to say Merc Treads, the old Tenacity, and Elixir of Iron. I mean, it doesn't stack just additively anymore. It kind of multiplies or whatever the fuck they do.
Cumulative? Is that the term you're looking for?
I don't know. Steve, do you want to fight or something?
No, I know you've got like a hidden like bottle opener or something.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't want to offend with that.
He might throw a hula hoop at you, Steve. Or
the judgment now ticks like 1,000,000 times.
Yeah.
And it stacks up as he levels, not as he ranks it as well. The number of ticks. Basically, he'll still spin for 3 seconds. He'll just spin
more often.
like really psycho fast.
Yeah.
At level 16, in 3 seconds, he'll deal 10. He'll have 10 ticks of judgment.
There's
Yeah, that's
with that
He'll
in
deal
mind,
damage 10 times.
With that in mind, I
The Black
really,
Cleaver.
really hope that this will bring a return to the Garen and the Brush Demacia meme that was going around like 2 years ago, because that
I
was my
miss it.
favorite.
I
That was my
miss it.
favorite League of Legends meme ever. Basically, for those of you who weren't around for that, and for you, Victor, it was basically that have like a clip from another video game or from like a viral video or a skateboarding video or something like that. Just any kind of random thing, and it'd just be something normal like I'm not sure if you've ever played Ocarina of Time, but there's a scene where Link has to go around all these hedges trying to get past the guards to get to the Princess Zelda. And so they've taken a video of someone doing a playthrough of that, and then he gets to the end and he's standing right next to a brush, and all of a sudden Garen pops out and goes, Demacia! And just spins to win. It's like, you have been slain. And they do that for a whole bunch of things. Like a skateboarder going past a bush and all of a sudden, Demacia! And then then just fall and just completely stack it. You know, there was like 50 of these videos that came out over a period of like 5 months before they decided to nerf the shit out of Garen, and then they just stopped. And I'm like, no, that was the best meme.
yeah.
That's what I'm doing for the rest of the night, by the way. I'm just gonna watch
Sure.
those.
A nice little quality of life change to Garen as well. That now you can tell when he's going to kill somebody with his ultimate, so that's really really useful.
It pops up and shines
yeah.
brighter. Yeah, and it's bigger.
And I mean, there's that for a couple other champions with those sorts of abilities. I mean,
Yeah,
Cho'Gath's got
Cho'Gath.
it, but Cho'Gath needs it more prominently. I think it's just too hard
Yeah,
to tell.
I I played Cho'Gath for a really long time when I started playing.
Yeah.
Never
You don't even
noticed
notice
that.
it, especially in the
didn't
middle of a
even
fight.
Yeah, with his little teeth or whatever. Garen's Q also got nerfed. He doesn't silence people for ridiculously long amounts of time anymore. It's a flat 1.5 seconds across the board.
Yeah.
So he's lost his crazy long silence power. And also his passive got a little bit nerfed as well. So he doesn't heal quite as much. But
All
it's
right.
still a lot.
Let's get into Mordekaiser because this is where it's going to start to get a little weird. So, what they want to do with Mordekaiser is they want to put him in the bottom lane
Ambitious
with
at
the support.
best.
Yeah, just a little bit ambitious. And this is something they clearly state in this article they got on the League of Legends website. It seems his more or less his abilities stay the same. Well, pretty similar at least.
Help their character.
His Q's been changed, so now it buffs him for 3 attacks. His W... Okay, so his W means he gets full experience from any lane minions he kills. So basically, even if he's with the support, he still gets full XP. The new active is that he can target himself and target ally champion for 75 movement speed while moving towards one another. When close to one another, both deal magic damage to nearby enemies over 4 seconds. I think so. This is where you can see they're really trying to put him into the bottom lane. Ability can reactivate to instantly deal 40% of total dot and heal Mordekaiser and his ally for the damage dealt, which is just. Ugh. So that's looks like the biggest change. The coolest change.
Siphon Destruction has also changed the way it gives him a shield rather than just because they nerfed the crap out of its damage because it was way too good for an AoE. It actually, now for each champion you hit, you gain 15% max shield instead of abiding by the rules of his passive Iron Man. But there you go. Alt.
He's alt. Now you can target the dragon. And if you kill the dragon, it now follows you as a ghost. And it doesn't change the size of the dragon. So you have this whopping, great, big-ass dragon following around, shooting its fireball out, being a ghost. Which is awesome. It's really cool.
Yeah, I have a question about that. Don't get me wrong, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
But previously, when you could only target enemy champions with the ultimate, it was you put the dot on them, and if anyone on your team kills it, they die and they come back as a ghost.
Yeah.
Or even if they die to a minion, like, because you'd still get the kill, whatever. If you put your dot ultimate on the dragon and an enemy jungler smites it, do you still get the ghost?
No, you do not. You
Oh,
or your
wow.
teammate has to kill it.
Yeah.
But, Steven, you don't actually activate your ult on the dragon. It's a passive.
Oh, is
When
it?
you deal damage to the dragon, you mark it with a curse for 10 seconds, and then if you or your team kill it, you get the dragon. You don't have to activate your ultimate. That does not mean you can get a second ghost though. You have to wait for the dragon to die before you can use your ultimate.
Still, if you
That's
think about
pretty
team
sexy.
fights where they engage after the dragon dies with a Mord, that's just ridiculous.
I mean, you're walking around with a 5k HP unit or whatever it is.
That also looks completely boss. Like it goes because it's got like a Draco Lich kind of thing going on. Like it's got the skeletal wings. So rad.
Yeah, because you got this big thing rocking up, 5k health, dealing AoE damage to the enemy team.
A lovely shade of Karthus green.
Yeah. Yeah. And,
Okay, so let's talk about that's cool, but let's talk about the bottom lane thing because that's just really peculiar.
Look, I was thinking about it today, and I was talking about it to myself, as I do, and the pieces are in place, I believe, to put him in bot lane. But when I think about it even deeper, I'm like, because, his passive doesn't decay below 25% now, and his E will give him straight up 15% max shield when he hits people, so he's got the means to stay alive. He'll get his ultimate earlier, he'll hit level 2 earlier because of the way W works now. He's got a bit of sustain with the support. No way in hell he's going to land any Maces of Spades, his Q in lane, ever.
Yeah.
But and I'm like, okay, so the pieces are kind of in place to make him survive the lane, hit 6 first, and then try and dive in with a Leona or something and get a ghost. And I guess that's what they're going for. The 6v5, your AD carry is just going to be their AD carry. But I figure, can't you just achieve the exact same thing if you play Mordekaiser as the support and run a normal AD carry?
Well, I was thinking about that as well because he doesn't get full experience from lane minions. He gets full experience from lane minions that he kills. Now,
yes.
Yeah, so it's not like him being in lane, he's going to get level 2 before anyone else and he'll get a burst of, his level 2 will be amazing compared to everyone else at level 1 or whatever. It's a very slight difference there.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, it's because it's not very clear in the description, but I scrolled down and went, eh. Now, that's not to say that he still couldn't be a very strong, what's that, shield? The last hit a minion you heal an ally and yourself.
Relic Shield.
A Relic
Relic
Shield. I was
Shield, thank
thinking
you.
that because he'd still get more XP than the enemy with Relic Shield, but it'd
Yeah.
probably be, rather than hitting level 6 when they're only level 4, it'd probably be he hits
Yeah.
level 6 when they're just a little bit into level 5.
Yeah. Here's the issue. Like, there's multiple problems with the idea. Basically, Mordekaiser would need to be in either support or AD carry, like the carry in bot lane. You would need to take full advantage of the experience, the level advantage, the pressure that he comes with. Now, he's an immobile champion. They've said that. Now, what happens when you push like crazy and overextend in bot lane? The jungler comes down, you die, you give up dragon. That's the actual result. Now, it's not like the experience advantage you're going to have is going to be enough to turn around a gank. Like even if you're one level above your lane opponent, you're not one level above the jungler who's come down to mess you up for overextending. And Mordekaiser passively pushes just by use of his abilities. So you've got to like run Flash Ghost or something like that to make this work. If you're going to be doing it as a support, you're going to need to take Relic Shield, and you're going to need to take someone like Corki, who's able to follow up on any sort of damage output that you'll be doing. But of course, why would you do that when you could just have any other support that CCs them and he can get the damage down more reliably? So it's like, if the numbers on Mordekaiser stack up to be amazing, he'll probably still be picked in the mid lane because that's where gold and all that and the level bonuses go. What's more likely, I feel, is that if the jungler camps his lane in mid, he'd still come out ahead because the slightest experience difference advantage in mid lane can be huge, and jungle pressure, like the jungler doesn't want to stick around for too long in mid lane to take up too much experience. And also that will probably be more where it's applied.
Yeah, I figured that more so about top lane. Like the jungler just comes and sits in one of your top bushes, and he just sits there whacking his minions away. And normally, if I'm sitting there playing my normal Maokai top or whatever, and my jungler's sitting there, I'm just looking at him like, "Are you fucking right there?"
Just taking my experience.
And
it's a real telltale if you got level 5 first. But and then they gain level 6 first. Like there's an obvious. Hang on, well the other way around. Sorry. So they got level 5 first, but you get level 6 first. It's like, okay, so the wave didn't push any different to previously. I haven't pushed the wave anymore. Obviously, the jungler's been sitting in that bush for that time, soaking up his experience. So, but the Mordekaiser idea takes that away.
Yeah.
So
and also your jungler's getting more experience because he's leeching lane XP and at the expense of no one.
Yeah.
The mid lane Mordekaiser isn't really, because I used to play mid lane Mordekaiser and swear only by mid lane Mordekaiser because I'd walk into lane, shove it all the way up to the tower, go kill wraiths, and then I'd come back, shove it back to the tower, go kill wraiths, and I'd repeat that process. But when they got the raptors, they upped the being dead time of the raptors, so it takes longer for them to respawn. So now I had to sit in lane longer. I was getting ganked more, and I don't want to play Mordekaiser anymore. It's too hard.
Well, the removal of Deathfire Grasp is the reason I kind of went away from Mordekaiser because that the just instant kill, like you're down a member, I'm up a member thing was the whole reason that I would pick Mordekaiser previously, but that factor was removed when Deathfire Grasp left, and other champions benefited more from the other AP items. So I'm with you there, just for different reasons. Yeah.
And there you go. There are all my feelings on Mordekaiser.
I think though, I mean, well, his Q has been changed so it doesn't push anymore. It empowers the attacks and to do multiple hits. So I think, and combined with the move speed bonus on his W, I actually think if you were to pair Mordekaiser with a hard engaged champion, so a Leona or a Alistar or Thresh, someone who can get in, then it won't be so hard to get in yourself. Obviously, something like
the dive buddy system.
Yeah, dive buddy
I actually
system.
think Tarek would be a really good one there, because all it takes is one stun, and then everybody, like, they just both blow their damage combos on that person. They've won the trade. They've both
now
got
I
shields.
just need
they
to
can
find
both
a
walk
fellow
in.
Tarek player.
Or a fellow Mordekaiser player, depending on how you want to work that. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Tarek could move faster, because essentially the thing about a Leona is that she's almost instantaneously in there, or you know, Alistar. It's almost like you know, you can get in really quick and do a bit of damage and then get out. Because particularly
I 100% agree with that idea. The reason I said Tarek is because you don't want to be so far forward on Mordekaiser that when your shield's down, you become vulnerable to poke and stuff like that. So you need to be able to. And the thing about Tarek is he does way more damage than a Leona or an Alistar.
Oh my god, Steve, you made me so happy when you said that.
You just jizzed in your pants.
I mean,
because
the other reason why I think
your eyes rolled back.
The other reason I think particularly
just get, as a Tarek player, that was one of the finest things anyone has ever said to me, because all people talk about
he's feeding into your delusions of grandeur.
And you're a shit champ and your cooldowns suck, and I'm like, stop it, leave me alone.
Tarek has his place, just it's not in the game.
Yeah,
it's not in
left,
the
right, out.
Like Mordekaiser as an AD carry is also not in the game. But if you're going to pair someone,
I don't think it's totally okay. So the other reason you want the three champions that I mentioned is because they've actually got a fair bit of lockdown. That is, and they can pin somebody down for at least maybe 2 auto attacks. Where Tarek doesn't have that, because you'll stun, you'll waddle in, you'll get one hit, they'll walk off. So because with that Q, you do more damage if you successively hit them.
Yeah, that's true.
So the empowered damage is actually doubled. So each extra strike deals two times the bonus damage of the last. So essentially, if you can get your 3 auto attacks off, like, you're gonna do a lot more damage than if you just get one off.
I really don't feel
so
that
particularly with Leona, she can pin somebody down, like she can get in, that pins them in place. Then she can stun them, that pins them in place. Then she can ult if she wants to, and that pins them even longer. Yeah, Thresh hooks. He holds the hook. He goes in. He then flays. He can then box.
Nautilus, another example.
Nautilus would be brilliant. He's got just as much lockdown. So I think with those, you know, and then once he gets those empowered hits off, he gets his shield up, which means they're going to have to back off or try and fight through his shield. Or alternatively, he waddles his way out and he takes the damage, you know, the return damage onto his shield. The main issue is if he goes up against like a Janna or a Lulu, he's pretty much boned. Like, there's just nothing he's going to do.
Like those, like Lulu and a Caitlyn.
Yeah.
Just forget it. Like, seriously.
I
only really like the Tarek pair up because he'll get the passive armor and Tarek has the heal. I really like the idea of Leona going in level 6, but I don't see Mordekaiser ever wanting to mess with anyone before he hits level 6. That's the only reason I like the Tarek matchup compared to the Leona, the Thresh, or the Alistar, or the Nautilus even. Just like Tarek can heal him up to level 6, and then they can kind of do a thing at level 6, but maybe they won't get anything, but I reckon Leona or Alistar tower diving and fucking just wrecking everything. I can see kills happening at level 6.
Well, W gives you a heal for Mordekaiser. So even if you have, I mean, Alistar's got a slight heal, but even with Leona or a Thresh, like, you're still going to get a bit, because it's from the damage from the W. So getting in there deals the damage that gives you the health. So,
fun fact: his W doesn't cost HP.
Yeah, that too.
Okay,
I didn't notice.
No, I didn't actually notice. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Now, there's a couple of things that I want to touch on. The first thing is out of bottom lane with Mordekaiser in bot lane. It's like, we're basically going to need someone like Jace, Varus, Ezreal, Kog'Maw sort of champion in the mid lane to kind of compensate for that complete lack of AD damage that's going to be on your team. And then that does kind of force you into a mid-game, early to mid-game team composition. Unless, of course, Mordekaiser is snowballing like crazy, which means the enemy jungler didn't do their job. Like, basically, Mordekaiser... To play that lane, Mordekaiser would need to be so far ahead that the jungler, if he goes down, he will die. In addition to his lane, like it basically needs to get that far out of hand that early. And if it doesn't, Mordekaiser's really not going to do the same. Like even if you have like the worst lane imaginable in bot lane as an AD character, you can always buy the Infinity Edge at the 20-minute mark if you've done really poorly, and you will still be able to contribute to a team fight. But if Mordekaiser falls behind in that same way, he's not going to be able to do that. Because if he has to go in, he has to kind of throw out his spells and stuff to kind of do his damage. And if he's behind, then his spells aren't doing enough damage to sustain his shield. His shield's not going to be high enough. His base stats aren't going to be high enough. He's just going to die.
There is always
he doesn't
the
have
hope
that same
of his
luxury.
ultimate, though. There is
Yeah, that
always
is
the hope
true.
of his ultimate.
The problem with that is in really competitive team fights, you either like basically Mordekaiser needs to be within cast range, and that champion needs to be basically hooked and insta-gibbed. Like so, you can't put that on a tank, and that's generally who Mordekaiser is going to be in the traditional 5v5 matchup. So, like if someone has like Twisted Fate teleported in and cut off the enemy Kog'Maw or something like that, then absolutely that Mordekaiser ult is just gonna bam, we're just gonna take 2 towers off that. But if that sort of situation doesn't arise, it's gonna be quite difficult for Mordekaiser to go, that's the person I want to ult, that's the person we need to kill at the expense of all other things. Like that like in the high level team fightings, you've got to kite, you've got to position, you've got to try and pick off escape routes and all that sort of stuff, and Mordekaiser's not going to add anything to that.
Yeah, I'm just playing devil's advocate. I mean, like he can rock up to a team fight with a giant dragon and send the dragon into lower all their
true.
HP.
I did not take into account.
I tell you what, I mean the dragon, like because it's got so much health and Children of the Grave lasts like forever. Your ability to take towers like without minions is going to be massive.
That is a lot of potential there.
Yeah.
Another thing is,
Anyway,
I think the worst part about this entire thing is solo queue is going to have so many people locking in Mordekaiser
Oh, I'm
do
looking
the
forward
AD,
to it.
and it's just going to cause so many bitch fits.
Oh,
Just the chaos.
I'm going to welcome it with open arms. I'm going to be like, yep, lock it in, Leona. We're going to do this.
I look forward to it, actually.
Oh my goodness!
all right,
if you guys are solo queuing later, send me a text message or hit me up on Skype because I would love to spectate that.
All right, well, let's get into the more controversial one. Like, I think, the reception sort of on Reddit in particular for Darius, it's, hey, he's going to get pentas. Yeah, Garen's like, oh, he's gonna stomp carries. Mordekaiser, I think, has been a bit like, okay, this is interesting. Everybody, no, there hasn't been as much love for the changes to Skarner. So, essentially...
Well, hang on. Look, what's happened is Skarner's had a bit of a change of heart. He feels that his place isn't really to go in and just, chase people down and fight them and claw people's heads off. He doesn't want to kill anymore. He just wants to be an archaeologist and dig up rare gems that were stolen from the Crystal Scar and bring them back to his homeland. That's all he cares about.
Yeah.
Why can't we just show the man a little bit more respect in what he wants to do?
Yeah. So basically...
Skarner's shit.
So his old passive is gone, and it's moved thematically to his E. His new passive is his presence causes crystals to spawn in set locations around the map, which is basically blue and red buff, Baron and Dragon. Capturing prevents them from being captured by the opposing team for 10 seconds, while near active crystals, Skarner gains 150 move speed, and then a bunch of attack speed, and he restores, and this is actually pretty cool, he restores 3% of his maximum mana per second, which is pretty darn rad. Having said that, they can be captured by the enemy team, and Capturing a crystal grants 15 gold to the player that helped capture it. And while on the 10th, so basically the enemy teams get a brief amount of vision before Scanner can try and recapture the crystal. So yeah, people are not so enthused with that change in particular.
I want to know how they're spawning. Like, if I walk into a game and there are crystals littered all over my enemy's jungle, and they walk in and just capture them all for 15 extra gold at the start of the game, and then I have to spend the rest of the game trying to control these goddamn things.
Yeah.
Is this like, okay, just stay in your jungle, Skarner, because you're too busy trying to dig up rocks and then actually fight people?
I mean, I think the mana regen is pretty huge. Like 3% per second basically means that even in his own, like, he's gonna be able to sort of power clear much more easily because he can basically just sit there and for a few seconds and get back his, because he's so mana hungry.
Yeah, but this is my problem with that. Like, don't get me wrong, it's something that he almost definitely needs in order to make him competitive, but you could accomplish the exact same thing with changing mana costs. Why are they giving him this huge amount of mana regen? Like, is it so you can blow all your skills really quickly and then have to wait before you can do it again? Like, a la Vigar, where you just, like, throw out a Q, throw out a Q, throw out a Q. Oh my god, it's someone, just lower absolutely everything. Now I'm out of mana, but I regen it quite quickly. You know,
yeah, I think it's supposed to be like, because I mean, if he has tons of mana, he can be incredibly oppressive because you'd never be able to dislodge him. I mean, that's essentially, particularly in the early stages of the game. I mean, like, obviously by late game, you know, he's going to have a Iceborne Gore, or he's going to have something like that where it doesn't, you know, it's less of a thing. But certainly in the early game, like, unless you can temper his ability to CC the hell out of someone, he can be just horrendous to deal with. So I can kind of see it. I mean, if you say, you know, the enemy team captures the two crystals in their own jungle, they get 50, so the jungle gets 30 gold. You just don't try to capture it again until later on. Like, you can just ignore them, focus on your own. I mean, you'll basically be able to capture your own jungle ones.
You don't get gold for your own ones.
No.
So you're kind of lending them a little bit of a gold advantage for at the start of the game. You're getting nothing when you capture your own ones unless someone's trying to invade you. And you don't really invade a Skarner that much.
Well, 150 move speed and then also attack speed. So if you get counter jungled, you can move to your crystal, they can't capture it, and you could basically just, like, solo anybody. Like, is there anybody who can really go 1v1 v Skarner when he's got, like, 35 plus 5% per level, so at least 40% attack speed, and then he's regenerating mana like a maniac. Like, no one could duel him. So essentially, as long as he can, like, stop them from capturing the crystals in his own jungle, or if he can draw them to fight them. I mean, these things spawn near red buff, and they spawn, like, you know, so if you get counter jungled on a buff, you go stand on the buff, and you just solo the guy. I mean, heck, even Nunu can't withstand that sort of thing. So, you know, that's not bad.
It'll depend on how it actually works.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to be something that needs to be tested over a couple of 100,000 simulations in real games to find out. Like, if we look at the solo queue stats in 2 weeks and Skarner's at like 60%, we know, well, yeah, he's basically unkillable when he controls those things. But if, you know, if it stays about the same or even goes down, then obviously people tried and failed, you know, so
I mean,
that's going to be one I'm going to let play itself out.
The other thing is, it depends where they're positioned near Baron and Dragon, because if they're positioned really closely for Baron and Dragon, it's going to make Skarner like the ultimate control zone guy over those two objectives, because essentially,
that's what Riot are trying to do with him. They want to make him into this Scorpion. This is my jungle. You don't come in my jungle. He's like that old American dude with a shotgun running out of his broken down house going, get off my lawn!
Get off my lawn! I mean, get off my lawn! He gets essentially, I mean, what, by the end of the game, he's going to get like 125% attack speed being around those crystals. Because he gets 35 plus 5 per level. So, you know, that's 125 attack speed. That's insane.
I mean, for me, it comes down to, like, I don't think anyone really invades, like, anyone who knows what Skarner does doesn't really try to invade him that much anyway. Skarner, like I can see him going into the enemy jungle, taking one, and then going and beating the crap out of that dude. But I also see that dude preemptively taking it, pocketing 15 gold, and then when Skarner comes, just run away, drop a ward in there, or call for backup.
Yeah.
It's also at the expense of his old passive, which I reckon was one of the best things that ever happened to Skarner.
Well, that's been moved to his E.
Which has been moved to his E. Which I like and I don't like, because the way they've changed it is it's still the skill shot. You launch it out. Now, that skill shot was kind of crappy because all it did was slow, did no damage. Riot buffed its late game damage. Oh, I maxed it last anyway. Thanks, Riot. So you launch the thing out, and it'll mark them like it used to, but it's like it gives it the 3 stacks instantly, and that's the only way you can get the stacks. And then it slows down before it goes to other targets. So you're probably looking at hitting 1, if you're lucky, 2 people in a team fight. And then your lane ganks rely on you hitting this thing, and you run up and you smack them. And this stops the problem of, I need to spend all this time stacking them up. So in some ways, it's more reliable if you don't miss.
Yeah.
However, at the same
adds
time,
the damage.
Yeah, and at the same time, you can't go on this mad stacking and stunning spree during team fights. That's not going to happen anymore, which is really good. You'd run in, you stack up on all these people, then you go stun, 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 because you were dealing AoE damage with your Qs and your E was slowing everyone or whatever.
Yeah.
So
well, it does mean that you're going to be able to execute the finisher portion of your ultimate a little bit better, because once you've got them stacked up, previously, you would hit your ult and it'd hit like an extra 300 damage or something like that. Generally, if you hit them with your ult, they're going to be dead anyway. But just that particular combo will be easier to execute.
I think they might have taken that extra damage per stack thing out.
That's shit.
Okay, Impale. So it's gotten much weaker. Its base magic damage has gone to 20 at rank 1 up to 100 at rank 3, but it deals an additional physical damage at the start and the finish equal to 100% of Skarner's attack damage. That's the change they've made. So they've added an AD ratio, and they've nerfed its base.
Yeah. It's not often that I agree with Reddit, but fuck this change. This is terrible.
I just had a quick look at a video showing where the locations for the Baron and Dragon are, and basically the crystal is located kind of on the southern side of Baron, so sort of towards the jungle entrance where the raptors are. So presumably it's in a corresponding side of the Dragon Pit, so it's sort of just above the Dragon Pit, which is pretty huge. So basically it covers the Baron Pit and then sort of the major way that people come into it. Like, I think that's going to be the biggest potential, because I mean, basically if there's a team fight near Baron or Dragon, he's going to have a lot of control, and essentially there's going to be an area where you just can't fight him. He's just going to have too much mana, and he's going to have attack speed out the friggin' wazoo. I
think Skarner's just a crap champion all round. This champion's never going to be good.
And also, you can flash drag somebody in there, and then they're stuck in this zone that you're just going to shred the hell out of people with.
Yeah. Poor Skarner, man. My life is ruined.
Yeah. But this one's for you, Carrot. There is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so.
Yeah, I'm pretty interested to see what they do with it. I think people jump, like, I mean, put it this way. The internet jumps up and down all over every single major change, and how many champions have been truly made for the worse when Riot have tried to fix them up? Like, you think about Rengar, like, the one that always sticks in my mind, Hecarim and Rengar.
Wait, Carrot. The answer is the same as every other. The answer is always Karthus.
Yeah, that's it.
That was purely visual. He's actually stronger now. But the answer to that question would be Mordekaiser, Tryndamere, Olaf.
You reckon Olaf was worse now than him before?
Absolutely. Okay. We're talking like 2010.
Yeah, but like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
well, so when they changed him in 2010.
No, they changed him a while ago, but I'm talking about when compared to then.
Oh yeah,
Like,
of course. He was
Twist-
friggin' broken as hell. That's like saying, hey, Xin Zhao's nowhere near as good as on release. Well, yeah, no shit.
True.
Zhao-
Yeah.
But
Zhao
Tryndamere
got-
was never.
Hey,
in
Innovative
got
Rocket
quite-
was really good on Udyr. Why don't we bring that one back?
Well,
No,
Xin Zhao got quite a big rework, and yes, he is significantly worse than what he was.
Yeah, but like
Yeah,
release Xin Zhao
like,
was like
damn near
1v5.
unplayable worse.
I want to stick with my original submission, which was Tryndamere. Tryndamere has never been overpowered. Tryndamere is overpowered in Bronze 5, and in levels like 1 to 25. Like that's where Tryndamere is overpowered. Because you go, how come this guy isn't dying? And that's about it. Tryndamere's kit worked really well if you knew how to play him. And it was like, if you were a good Tryndamere, you were freaking amazing. But unless you've actually dedicated the time to learning him, then he's kind of meh. He was an amazing duelist and split pusher. Now, he still is those things, but he is, like, the way his kit works is now less synergistic than it was originally. Is that a word? I think I just made that up.
Yeah, synergistic, yeah.
Synergistic is a word? Excellent. I feel like it should be a word.
Some people would also argue Viger.
Yeah, see, the thing is,
different.
alright.
Vigar's different.
The thing with Tryndamere is that I don't think it's a problem with Tryndamere. I think it's a problem with melee carries. That is, they all suck. And Tryndamere is just symptomatic of a wider problem with melee carries. That is, they just don't work in the current game. So, Aatrox,
I'll give you
Fiora,
that, but-
Yi, Tryndamere, they all suck. And they all don't work for the exact same reason, which is it's very hard to get into combat and do your damage with auto attacks in the environment we live in, because you just get bursted the hell out of the game, or you just get kited forever.
Yeah. Well, previously, Tryndamere used to get the more rage he had, much greater the heal was, which means you could go in, use your ult, spin out as the last tower shot's on the way, and your ult has run out. You can throw up a heal, and you would survive that tower shot. He can't do that anymore. It also, when the lower his health got, the more damage he previously got. But now the lower the health he has, he gets more crit or something. Like, none of it makes sense compared to what it used to be.
The rage gives him crit.
The rage gives him crit now.
He still gets more damage from low
that's
HP.
dumb. Like, that is so dumb. Like, if you...
Well, he walks
Like, you
into
should
lane
not-
level 1 with 30% crit chance.
Yeah, that's nothing to sniff at.
No, but he shouldn't get more crit from something that requires crit to generate. Like,
It's
that
just-
means...
Oh,
it's-
yeah.
Yeah, it's peculiar. Like, okay, now I've got more crit, which will mean I get more rage, but I'm already at max rage, so I'm getting less value out of my
Well,
crit than I
the
did
thing is,
before.
you
Like,
basically
it's-
auto-attack minions and then spin in and do a couple of crits and then, you know, walk out.
But previously, it made sense the way it worked. Now
Yeah.
it doesn't. Now it's kind of counterproductive.
Anyway,
I
I think it's a
question,
problematic type of champion. So, but more or less, most of the reworks that they do have worked out for the better.
I
Yes,
will
I
absolutely
agree.
give you
The
that.
last Skarner rework most definitely worked out for the
Yeah.
better.
Yeah,
The
this
last
one.
the Skarner that is on live right now is my favorite iteration of Skarner that I've ever played with.
I'll give
It
you
is
that.
my favorite one. The new passive they added to him, I reckon it fixed a lot of problems, but he was
Yeah.
just, as you call it, a problem of the wider range of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
Well,
I
not
Like,
think-
he
really
was so close to viability in the pro scene. So close.
Yeah.
It was just that Sejuani and Rek'Sai, like, there was a couple of champions that were just better.
Callista got released.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, there was a few things that prohibited him from taking that top spot. He was very, very close. And then they
He
nerfed
was
the
about as
items.
close as Nocturne.
That's right. Yeah, so
there.
close.
Yeah, it's
Like, they kept nerfing the items that he would use to fix the champions that were better with those items. And I'm like, he was so close. Come on.
see,
So,
I think
These
this
these
change.
big crystal pillars better be freaking amazing, because they've done a lot of terrible things.
See,
to it.
one of the things they're trying to do though, and we're way over time, but this is a really good discussion. I'm really,
Oh, wow, we
I can't believe how quickly we've gone. But anyway, like what they're trying to do is not only just improve the champions, but give them a distinctive feel. And I think this definitely gives Skarner a distinctive feel beyond just being this CC monster, like this guy you can't shake off. And I think that zone control around the objectives is just gonna be massive. And I think it will see pro play just because he'll be so good around those objectives that so much of pro play is around objectives. So
So I agree with you there, but I still think he's going to be way outclassed by Gragas in terms of zone control. Like, Gragas's ultimate gives you just so much, just everything you said about Skarner, but with less risk, essentially.
Well,
so if Gragas is banned, and like
it's a different sort of zone control,
though.
I mean, it's a different sort. So, I mean, essentially, once Skarner's in that, if you can get control of that area, you're not going to be able to get rid of him because he's got 150 move speed. I mean, I can't even think of. I mean, that's essentially the move speed. I mean, the move speed bonus on Boots of Speed is 105. Boots of Speed. Sorry, Boots of.
No, sorry. Ignore me. I was going to
the
say
yellow ones. I can't remember what they're called. I'm having a mind blank. But that's 105 for the move speed boots that are only usable out of combat. So it's more move speed than that. It's like 50% more move speed. That's on top of his actual boot. So, basically, if he takes the out of speed combat boots, he's essentially going to be running like if you come anywhere near that zone, he's going to run straight up to you, and you're not going to be able to stop him. And even if you knock him back, he'll still run up to you. So it's one of those things that, like, he's just going to be absolutely lethal in that zone.
Well, he already really had good move speed. When he pressed W, he got a burst of move speed, and when he hit Q, he got a stacking move speed and a stacking attack speed buff. So these things are all great, but he kind of already had that, and he didn't have to stand in the middle of a specific circle to actually get these things.
Yeah, but
He could run
up a minion wave, press Q as he ran through it, and he'd just go boom.
But he hasn't lost that.
Here's what I hope. The crystals that spawn, I really hope they interrupt Rek'Sai's tunnel ability. I think that just an interaction like that would make it just infinitely better. Because then that zone, like, works specifically with because Rek'Sai goes under the ground and these things come out of the ground. So is Rek'Sai tunneling through these things? Like, what's going on? Like, if that sort of interaction would work, then I like that idea. Hopefully they listen to this podcast and add that.
Yeah. Other thing worth mentioning about Skarner's shield. So the move speed's still there. So he still gets that move speed bonus from his W. It now shields off his max health, which is awesome. So instead of being base shield with an AP ratio, it's now max health shielding.
I like that.
Yeah, that's really
good.
So
that's a good change, but the changing the ultimate to be an AD ratio, like, which way do you want us to itemize, Riot? What are we doing here?
Well, yeah, I mean, he always built AD anyway. I mean, you built a Trinity Force, but you wouldn't.
You'd build
it's
a
not
Trinity
often
Force
you build
or
AP
an Iceborne
Skarner.
Gauntlet. Sorry?
It's not often. Yeah.
No, you would build like one offensive item and tank.
Yeah.
Which means, and if you continue to do that, then that AD scaling is basically nothing. Like,
well,
how much attack damage is on there? Like,
the damage from T-Force comes from Sheen more than anything else. You don't really get AD,
which is an ability power item, mind you.
And it's not like you build it's not like you want Skarner's ult for his damage anyway. Like, the fact that you pin somebody down and shred the hell out of them, that's like all you need.
Yeah, well, the current
nothing
live
got better
of
about his ultimate.
Got a huge burst of damage if he timed his procs and everything correctly.
Yeah.
And
so
his
like
ultimate hasn't gotten better. Like, he hasn't gotten better at locking people down or anything. It just kind of got worse.
No, like, he's the same as he was, and in certain circumstances, he's like absolutely unstoppably amazing. You wouldn't even need flash with him.
Only in specific areas.
Yeah, but the most key areas.
I could get the move speed. I could get the move speed and the attack speed anywhere I wanted on the map by pressing the Q button. Now I have to stand in these specific circles on objectives that are not up 100% of the time.
Well, see, I agree with both of you, because you can incorporate that into your strategy and how you play. And as I said before, I really want to see how it works out over a few hundred thousands of games to see whether or not this is, in fact, a huge buff, or whether or not this is just kind of a side grade, or whether it's actually indeed a big nerf, and now he's far less usable than he was on the current patch. So, yeah, I'm going to go halfway between on this issue.
You just split the difference.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Like, I really do think this one's still up in the air. Like, I think that the changes to him, personally, I'm going to like less, when I play Skarner. Yeah. And I probably won't play Skarner because, hey, Elise got buffed. Why would I play anything else? But yeah, like if it turns out that this is ridiculous and it's bringing Skarner back, then awesome, because he's one of the most entertaining champions to watch.
Yeah.
In team fights, because like if he walks towards your carry, the entire enemy team has to accommodate for that, and
Yeah.
it's just a nice, it's a nice visual team fight X factor.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what is
And-
Skarner gonna do? Because when he does anything, it's gonna be freaking huge to how the team fight plays out.
Yeah,
And so
I used to
really
like, I
wanna
used to
see him
like
back in-
watching him in like some of our like when we used to do battle arenas or whatnot, and one dude would pick Skarner and he'd run through the whole team, and
Yeah.
he'd just become this problem that got stronger and stronger over the course of the team fight because he stacked up his passive and he stacked up his
Yeah.
Q, and then he dragged someone back and he's oh! and he would, and then he'd be alive at the end of the fight and still really healthy because he's shielding all the time, and he was I don't know, maybe he was getting help from somewhere, and he was just an absolute menace.
Back then, summon a heal was by far the most OP thing.
Yeah.
Summon a heal, just whoop, move speed onto Skarner and to the health while he's tanking
Yeah.
and get to the.
And then
side.
when he died, it was like for Skarner's team, it was, oh no, we just lost a team fight. Oh no. But for the enemy team, it was, yeah, we got him. Oh my god! And it was this huge celebration, and he was fun. He was so much fun. And when you did good with him, you had so much fun just being this unstoppable tank that ran through the team and could still carry with damage.
They just bring back innovating like it, man. It'd be OP again. Man, that item was so dumb. If you don't know what innovating lock it is, you need to go check it out. Then the League of Legends wiki, it was just insane. Anyway, I think we'll come back to 5.15 next week.
Oh, I know. what you mean.
And it's basically every like 3 spells you cast, you get healing and like mana.
Yeah, I
It
remember.
was basically like what is it, the item that gives you mana and health when you level.
I'm
I
not sure
know
that's
it
how
is.
it's
We're all having minty blanks right now.
It builds into Rod of Ages.
Yeah, versus the Rod of Ages. That thing, but
Catalyst
just
to
every time you
Protector?
cast spells.
Catalyst, yeah.
Catalyst,
I wanted to say something completely different. Like I was going to say Crystalline Brace. I'm like, no.
Yeah, no, it's not
That's
it.
the
Anyway,
other one.
we've gone way over time, but yeah, we'll be back episode 97 next week with a final return appearance of Ranconius before we lose him to Smite forever. So we'll make sure we'll get him to answer all the patch notes because we would just mean like that.
just there you go, Ranconius.
Yeah,
Be right
yeah.
back in 25.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we'll just leave him to solo it.
He also wants to argue with Steve about Baron.
Yeah, the final Ranconius. I thought it was me and Steve versus on Baron. Anyway,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we've
Yeah.
gone back and forth on this issue over the years.
now we've got Skarner and Karthus' visual update to add to the list. All right, and with that, that's episode 95. We'll be back again next week.
Good evening, ladies.